I'm going to be showing you some group policies that I think every Windows user should enable. So how do we access group policy? Well, first you're going to hold down the Windows key, and your Windows key should be around the Control and Alt on your keyboard. So hold down the Windows key and then press R. So Windows key R, and then you're going to enter gpedit.msc. Most likely you won't have this prompt. Okay, so you're going to see computer configuration and user configuration. Computer configuration pertains to this computer specifically. User configuration pertains to any user regardless of the computer. And this subtle difference mainly has to do with networks and domains on Windows machines. So because we're just focused on this one machine, this difference doesn't really matter. Anyways, we're going to go under Windows settings, under the computer configuration, and then under security settings. Under security settings, there's local policies, and then security options. Now here that you see a bunch of different security options, but there's two that I always enable on my machine. Scroll down all the way, and you'll see user account control. And under user account control, look for behavior of the elevation prompt. There's one for administrators and one for standard users. So first do the one for administrators and set it to prompt for credentials on the secure desktop. Now what that's going to do is, well, exactly what you saw earlier. Let me show you again. It's going to bring up this dialog whenever there's a privilege elevation. So what this dialog is it prompts for your password, and if you say no, it's not going to access it. If you enter in the incorrect PIN or password, it's not going to work. Also, you'll notice the screen is dim here. That is the secure desktop part. The reason we don't use the standard desktop is because if you used a standard desktop, any program could replicate this prompt and keylog whatever you put into this box here. But since we see the screen is dimmed here, we know that this is the secure desktop, and nothing can be keylogged here. My pen again. All right, so I'm going to go back to that. Okay, so that's for administrators, but for standard users, we want to automatically deny elevation requests. So what happens here is that whenever a standard user attempts to access group policy or what have you, anything that requires elevation, it will automatically deny them. Because honestly, a standard user does not need access to administrative utilities. But if on your system they do, you could change this to this prompt for credentials on the secure desktop. However, I suggest that any administrative tasks be done through an administrative account, and just set this to automatically deny elevation requests. Okay, so I'm going to apply that. Okay, now the third policy that I like to enable, if you scroll up, find interactive logon and find do not require Ctrl+Alt+Delete. Now you want to set it to disabled because again this is do not require Ctrl+Alt+Delete. So if you set it to disabled, it will enable Ctrl+Alt+Delete on the login screen. The reason we want to do this is because a malicious program could replicate the WinLogon process down to the last pixel and keylog your password. Now, if you disable this policy, what will happen is on your login screen, you'll see press Ctrl+Delete to log in. And if you don't see that, you know that a malicious program has replicated the Win logon process, similar to the UAC on the secure desktop. Um, this this is an additional layer of security, so that if a malicious program were to replicate the Win logon screen, you would know, because it doesn't say press Ctrl+Alt+Delete. Why isn't it saying that? Well, because a malicious program has replicated the screen. If you go under Explain here, you'll notice that under Note it says this policy can only be disabled on enterprise, education, and server SKUs. Well, it turns out there's a way to enable Ctrl+Alt+Delete on systems without enterprise, education, and server SKUs. But if you have enterprise like me, then you will want to use this group policy. If you don't, open up that run dialog again, and then you're either going to do one of two things: Control space user passwords 2 or net plwiz. They both do the same thing. Okay, and then on this dialog here, you're going to go under Advanced and check Require users to press Ctrl+Delete and select Apply and OK. Now on my computer, it's grayed out because I have this policy disabled. But if you don't have an enterprise system, you're going to have to go into here and require users to press Ctrl+Delete. Okay, and for you, it will not be grayed out. Now, some systems don't have this group policy editor. In particular, Windows 7 or Windows 10 Home editions may not have a group policy editor. So I'm going to put a link in the description to show you how to install the group policy editor if you have a home edition. Honestly, group policy editor should be on all Windows systems, but for some reason Microsoft decided to pull it out of Windows home editions. Now I'm going to show you one more policy that I like doing. Actually, a few more policies, but focus on one. So we're going to go under User Configuration and then go under System and scroll down, and you'll see prevent access to the command prompt, prevent access to registry editing tools, don't run specified Windows programs, etc. Now these two, prevent access, I don't like to enable these because, for one, if I try to access the registry, again, I get that UAC prompt anyway. Okay. If I access command prompt, I can access it fine, but it has limited access. And there's a registry tool called reg, and this shows you how to do it. But the only registry entries that you can access is stuff that any program could typically access. So you're not going to be able to use this tool to modify group policy, for example. What you'll end up getting is access denied. When you try to remove a group policy object in the registry, you'll get access denied with this. If you try to add or delete something that's in the current user in the software, it'll do it just fine because, again, your normal programs use those keys. But restricted registry keys will give access denied. So there's no worry here. Now, if you wanted to edit those keys, you could go to your command prompt, right click and elevate it to administrator. And now this reg tool is much more dangerous because, again, you can add anywhere, you can delete anything, you can query anything. Unlike with the standard command prompt where you'll get access denied on some keys. Okay, so that's why I don't prevent access to the command prompt or the registry editing tools, because it just makes things harder for me. I just enable the UAC to prompt for credentials on the secure desktop, like I showed you earlier. Now, one I do like to enable is don't run specified Windows programs or applications. I set this to enabled, and then on list of disallowed applications, click show, and then on the first entry I put syskey.exe. Now, syskey.exe will prompt for a UEC, but personally, syskey is pretty dangerous, that I don't want to even accidentally enable a syskey on my system. So I disable this. So what happens here when you enable this, enter syskey, the operation has been canceled due to restrictions in effect on this computer. Please contact your system administrator. So that's what this policy does. Now, if I go ahead and disable this, okay, I'll get the UAC prompt. So again, this isn't a required thing, but I like to enable it because, again, syskey is so dangerous. So what syskey will do when I click update, and if I were to click OK here, it would generate a password and encrypt my registry, and then I wouldn't be able to access it. So I disallow access to syskey entirely because it's so dangerous, and I don't even want to accidentally enable a syskey on my system. So syskey.exe, and then OK. Apply, OK. So again, this is just a preventative measure from me. Anyway, if you like this video, let me know in the comments below what group policies you use for your system, and just what you find helpful. If you have any questions, ask. And that's all. Bye-bye.